Welcome to America, the best country on earth. This is what a good country looks like, and it took a good deal of blood, money, spit, grit, and determination to get it looking like it does now. It all started with this idea called Manifest Destiny, which is a city folk way of telling everyone, see this land west of these here 13 colonies? Yeah, this is ours. God gave us that, and anyone standing in that land before we got here is a no-good trespasser and needs to be evicted forthwith. But you don't need that land, said the no-good trespassers on our land. You see, if there's anything Americans love more than land to call their own an apple pie, it's money, and the West had numerous opportunities to get that money. As jobs started fading away in the original colonies, jobs started popping up left and right as we started expandinizing and such. And when we learned that there was gold there in Oregon and California later, well, let's just say it was a golden opportunity to hit that trail. Now listen, before I recount to you the glorious tale of America's manifest destiny, the only manifest destiny that counts, by the way, you gotta understand that the North and South were on the brink of a very deadly breaking point within the Union. The North, for example, was all about education, while the South was too busy making money with all those cash crops don't want to teach their kids. The North focused on industrializing and doing things saying slavery, which is just a fancy pants way of saying we don't need no daggum slaves to get work done. But the South wanted to do things that was including slavery, and among other things, they disagreed about whether these new states that were popping up should have slaves or not. Luckily, some smart guys made the Missouri Compromise, which said everything above the 3630 line was free and below was a slave state. That way, the government wouldn't be too terrifically biased one way or another. And during this time of expanding, the same smart guy who made the Missouri Compromise, Henry Clay, and some other people, came up with this grand old plan. A plan that would allegedly unify the Union. What a great job they did. Anyway, it was all about making things like internal improvements, protective tariffs, and establishing a national bank, you know, city folk stuff. The protective tariff for just so industries up in the north didn't have to compete with the foreign countries, so that the stuff coming in America that wasn't made by Americans would be more expensive, so that people would just buy stuff that was made in America, thus making the industries have a lot more money. The South wasn't on board with this, and so the tariff never really got approved until 1816 when the tariff actually started raising, but then they stopped after 1828. As for the other stuff, they did eventually get around to making a national bank, which did great things for the economy and the currency. And we even got around to making our infrastructure better, which made farming and trading much easier and cheaper for everyone. After all, you ever try to get a daggum big old cart full of rutabagas and you get them on down and the road's all bumpy and you're spilling rutabagas all over the place? You know, you can't do that. When you got good roads, you got good stuff, you got some good place to store your stuff, mate. But anyway, the first major chunk of land that we claimed was in the Louisiana Purchase back in 1803, when Thomas Jefferson invoked the powers of the Elastic Clause and bought ourselves a ginormous hunk of land from the French for $15 million. With this expansion, and all the other expansions after, pride in our great country got greater and greater. Now, little did we know that we was on the brink of yet another war with our yellow-bellied previous rulers, the British. Them pompous redcoats were offended and upset because the Macon Bill said that they could no longer be able to trade with us. So, like the whining babies that they was, they blockaded our ports, paid and supplies the engines to fight us, and snatched up American soldiers right off their boats, thus justifying a preemptive retaliatory declaration of war. The War of 1812, where the British burned down our glorious White House. But when they tried to take New York and Baltimore, they quickly realized that while you can burn down a building, you can't burn down courage. It was after those fights that our national anthem came to be. Then the British started running away with their tails between their legs, asking for a treaty, but not before they tried sneaking a little bit of action in New Orleans. Andrew Jackson fanned them off like the daggum champion he was. Now true, after this, the Federalist Party, which supported Britain, was looking like pretty much a bunch of dumb idiots, and our economy was kind of going down the drain, but on the bright side, our nationalism was way up, which served as a fuel for the train that was our manifesting destiny. Speaking of Andrew Jackson, when he became president, he approved the Indian Removal Act of 1830. When the Indian Removal Act was put in place, it forced Native Americans to be moved into Indian reservation. These Indian tribes include Cherokee, Muskogee, Seminole, Chickasaw, and Kiwikatteacher. I don't care how to pronounce them, they ain't no good daggum trespassers. They was relocated west of the Mississippi River when the act was put in place, and while on their trail of tears, over 4,000 Indians died of disease and hunger. Sure, it was tragic, but in the end, they was no good trespassers on our land. That land was ordained to us by God himself. If it had to be done, there was no other way. And in 1818, James Monroe secured us another chunk of land from Britain in the Treaty of 1818. And then in the next year, John Quincy Adams, Secretary of State under James Monroe, secured another chunk of land from Spain this time in the Adams-Onis Treaty after a boundary dispute. It was about this time that America was sick and tired of seeing Europe's dumb face in their land. And so John Quincy Adams whipped up a nice document saying, hey, any Europeans on our land, you better get out of the way, because we will fight for it, and you are on our property. And in return, we won't meddle around with your affairs, because after all, we don't want your dumb land anyway. Ironically, Britain also liked this idea and said they was gonna help America. Pfft, yeah, right. Last time we trusted you, you stabbed our backs in the War of 1812. No thanks, Britain. And we was right to distrust them Britons because we got in yet another boundary dispute with them. Yes, the Oregon Country was in hot dispute with Britain over the Oregon Country. We eventually came to the Oregon Treaty, which the name ain't very creative, but what do you expect? We're a country founded on the name of the continent. Anyway, it pretty much said that everything north of the Oregon Country was Britain's and everything south was ours. And so we continue our nationalistic unilateral establishment, and we were proud to have it. So some time passed, and we never really made any new major land acquisitions until Texas finally got their rebellion, and they had made the Republic of Texas. Unfortunately, Texas wouldn't be joining us until around 1845, but when they did, it didn't make the Mexicans that happy. They was just upset because they thought that land was theirs. What a bunch of fools they was. We entered a war with them that would end the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, giving us another chunk of land and the rest of Texas, and eventually giving us a reason to buy some land at the Gadsden Purchase. You see, we was about to make an intercontinental railroad that was just too difficult to do when there were some daggum mountains in the way. So we went down to Mexico. We told them, listen up here, compadre. We will pay you $10 million for this land that isn't riddled with mountains. This purchase was accepted, and we now have ourselves a picture of the mainland of America. And what a beautiful picture it is. And that's the story of guts, honor, glory, and land. Thank you so much for watching and listening to my story. And I'll see you guys next time.